Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone? Pikachu, Keon, Lepus, Waffle User, Link Sage, Link Sage. Nothing? Nothing's going on with you this morning, Falco. Okay. That's fine. Nothing wrong with nothing. What? Oh. Oh, Falco's in a bathtub, or a hot tub, be my guess. Or the sauna. Falco usually listens at, let's mention that's funny. All the dude bros. All the dude bros. The lunk alarm? Oh yeah. At Planet Fitness. I like the YouTube videos of those things going off for like the mildest of reasons. Well, thanks for inviting me. Whenever I get DM'd to commentate, I'm always gonna say yes unless I can't do it. If there's like a server that's just pinging in general, like, hey, are any commentators available? I usually don't even read those, just because it's like, okay, I just get pings from the server all the time. It's just used to just marking them as read, which isn't like the best way to go through Discord, I know, but you get so many pings just start losing their luster. I actually checked my notifications though. I'm not one of those persons that has, like the 999 plus. I'm not about that life. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are DMing questions that should have been asked in help desk instead, claiming you survived Low Tide City by not testing positive for COVID, congratulating Fry on finally getting another Splatfest dub. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. I want to start this off by giving it a little ode to Red Sun, who I saw disbanded over the weekend. Unfortunate way, I've seen both pretty much all three remaining members' takes on why that disband had to happen. Unfortunate. I'm not going to get into that, but I do want to at least acknowledge Red Sun, the team, and the legacy that they did leave behind. Playing together for 3+ years and being impactful and being meaningful during all 3 of those years. When they were going through low ink, being the infamous incident team that won that low ink with Twisted Time. But that wasn't like where their story ended. That was just the beginning of Red Sun. They went on to finish second place at Riptide in 2022. Had a really fantastic run last summer where they made some noise in a Nintendo tournament and then turned it around to win just about every single weekly, day after day. Like they were winning weeklies left and right, and eventually did get to Div X last LUTI season. I think if you could ask any low ink team right now, forget how Red Sun ended, but if you could have the legacy that Red Sun had, I bet you every single low ink team would sign up for that. I think back to when Vertigo was a part of that team. Tina, the Brush player. I mean, they had, I think Brush played for Red Sun for a little bit. Like, they had a lot of different players go through those doors, and it was an impactful team. They got sponsored by an organ. I think we don't really have one now that Red Sun is no longer a thing, but In Control supported them for over a year. I want to say like a year and a half, ever since that Riptide run that they had. So, yeah, it's an unfortunate ending to how Riptide kind of fell apart, and that's not what we talk about here on the podcast anyways, but I do want to at least acknowledge the run that Red Sun had, because if you write the history book of competitive Splatoon, there might not need to be a chapter about Red Sun, but there needs to be like 3 paragraphs talking about them, because they were impactful to the scene when they were around for the entire time that they were around. Also, shout out to Thimbo IHOP, who I guess didn't disband but is on an indefinite hiatus, whatever that means. I think that just means what every other team that disbands means, is that they're going to show up every other tournament anyways. Thimbo IHOP obviously having a soft spot in my heart because A, I like IHOP, and B, the members of that team are all really cool and chill. Especially when Damp Waffle stopped DMing me really awkward, or not awkward, just random thoughts. And maybe it's my fault for encouraging it by responding to the thoughts that Damp would always kind of send my way. But that's the legacy Thimbo IHOP's always going to have with me. Also doing really well, I think a couple of SAC seasons ago. And the team that brought Lynn into the world. Birthed Lynn. That's got to count for something. LUTI season haven't even started. You guys are supposed to wait till you get a div to disband. Like, you couldn't even just sign up for LUTI, get a div, and then disband before you even play. Like, you couldn't wait to do that. Like, just wait 2 more weeks. You guys are doing this all out of order. Come on now. Act like you've been there before. The TO Guild released their survey, the results of their survey from the weapon ban that was put out before the last patch. And surprise, surprise, the vast majority of players are in favor of banning things, which is good. Like, we've been stuck in this conversation for so long of should we or shouldn't we? Well, now it's all out there for everyone to see. The vast majority of people are in favor of something like this. So now we can move on past that conversation to like, okay, well, what does this look like? What should be? Should things be unbanned at this point? Like, we can move past some of these other conversations that's been muddying down this thing that can be used to progress the scene. Now, if you look at the results that's been put on the TO Guild Twitter, you do got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt that the information was gathered before the last patch. There's new weapons that have come out. There's a weapon that came out today that looks like, oh my gosh, is this like when Ballpoint came out in Splatoon 2 where we're just like, they just gave this to us? Okay. Like that toothbrush thing, I understand the trailer they showed is it's like one player just whooping up on a bunch of NPCs. And like, I don't know how good it's actually going to be in person until we actually get our hands on it. We're so quick to like overhype and well, let's put this up into this different kind of tier and category before we even get our hands on the weapon. But there's still more weapons to come out. There's a lot of things to change. So don't like I wouldn't glean too much by the results of the guild, even though it is overwhelmingly in favor of weapon bans. But it can at least squash the narrative that players don't want it. Like, no, the players obviously are in favor of these things. So now start the conversation of what does it actually look like. That would be my takeaway from that. And it's not something that needs to happen right away. It's Proving Grounds. We are not doing weapon bans this upcoming Sunday, mainly because we want to be able to be in line with LUTI to give people more direct results that can tie directly into what LUTI did that they get. But I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a lot more tournaments kind of get on board with that. And not everybody has to like, nobody's being forced to do anything with weapon ban stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if you saw more tournaments than not start to get on board with this kind of thing in the future, not right away. News of tournaments that may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. If you want to get a good div in this LUTI season, you have to play in tournaments. It doesn't matter what tournament you play in. You just have to play in tournaments and put some film out there on you and pop off. People will notice. You got Flutie on Saturday, which is basically fast LUTI. And I don't know how many teams are signing up for it. I haven't checked registration or anything like that. And I've never helped with seeding with Flutie because that seems like a nightmare to do all that in one day. But Flutie is a good kind of way. If you played in the speed ladder and you got a good result, Flutie is a really good way to separate yourself from the pack. Like, Flutie is really good at getting an idea of where the council sees you initially, and you can break the narrative that the council has of you. If they put you in like Group C of Flutie, you can be like, oh, they think I'm here with all these other teams. Well, I'm just going to curb stomp them. And then the council will see that and be like, oh, okay, we can't put these guys in the same div as these other guys anymore. They need to be moved up. Flutie's a really good way to bump yourself up a div. Improve the div that you think that you are, or at least that you estimate you are. So look for that on Saturday. On Sunday, it's going to be Proving Grounds, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, daylight time, whatever. No weapon bans this time around, just a straight up double limb bar fight. And we'll be broadcasting that on IPL. Any tournament that you play in can count towards your LUTI seeding. Even if there's something with weapon bans, I still wouldn't like rule that out. Like, oh no, this tournament doesn't have pencil. This result doesn't count. No, that would. I don't know if the other members in council that would still count with me. I wouldn't look down on you for that. Today we are going to be recapping Low Ink, Swiss, Gamma, Beta, Alpha. And a big shout out to all of the Low Ink staff that took place in that. I was very hands off this weekend. Went into work on Saturday, took care of some things, spent some time with my family on Sunday. Came in to commentate when Brush had to leave on grand finals for that. Knocked that out. But overall, a chill weekend for me. Staff did a fantastic job. And we'll talk about it. All that and more. But first, LUTI is back. That's cool. That's cool. That's nice. Okay. I mean, if you're Falco or Stormy, you're probably ecstatic that that LUTI is back, because that's basically just free content for you for an entire month. I love watching Stormy's Hood commentary, and I also love watching all of the different streams that Falco puts on for the Splatoon Tourney channel. I shouldn't just say Falco. Falco's built up a nice team of people that have all been part of that little project behind the scenes. Nice little broadcasting thing. It's a good way to just put matches up, and we can all sit around and watch it. Week one of LUTI is usually one of my favorite things in the competitive Splatoon community, because I can just sit back at 8 o'clock on a Friday, crack open a cold one, which I'm not as much of a drinker as I was before, so maybe just like an old cold bottle of water, and just go on Twitch and watch all the different teams play in their week one match, and watch everybody get 5-0'd, and watch dreams get shattered right before my eyes. It's nice. I'm happy LUTI's back. it creates storylines and content and rivalries and people fighting with each other on Twitter. It's all good fun, unless it's not. Now, I would be shocked. I would be flabbergasted if there were 600 plus teams that signed up for this season, just like that we saw in the season leading up to this one. 2 seasons ago, there was 400 some odd teams, and I was like, that is insane. And then the season after that was 600 plus, and you're like, how are there that many people that even know LUTI exists, much less be willing to play in it? There's no way they're going to get 600 this time around. I think the appeal that LUTI has had for a while is starting to transition into other places. What is the point of LUTI? The point of it has always been the tournament itself. Being able to find other teams that are at the same or close to the same skill level that you are, in theory, and you get to play in a group with them in a bloodbath. That isn't going to have any 5-0s. They're all going to go to 5-3 or 5-4. They're all going to be close sets. And then you play in the playoffs, and then you can be excited. Everyone celebrates you because you've won your div 2 months after you got it. That is the idea of what LUTI is supposed to be. The concept, though, of the groups that are at your same skill level, the teams that are like right with you, that's something we've started to see. Well, we haven't started to see, but that's something that isn't as appealing as when LUTI first came out. I remember when I first played in LUTI, that was like perfect for my team when we started off at Div 6 when Div 7 was the floor, because there was like nothing else for us to do. Like there's no other way for us to find teams at our skill level, and low ink was like a thing nobody wanted to play in because it was sketchy and weird. Not at all what it is today. Now you got so many tournaments. There's tournaments happening almost every single day. There are a wide variety of tournaments. There's this like tournaments nowadays. It's just like Walmart. Whatever you want, whatever kind of skill cap you're looking for, special bands you're looking for, time of day, format, like it's all there. A smorgasbord of tournaments exists right now. So you can find the right one that fits for you. And there's so many like send out badges. I look at some players, it looks like they're merit badges. I don't even know what half the send out badges even are at this point because there's so many of them. Like a rotating dolphin on somebody's send out profile could mean like 6 different tournaments for all I know, and I've barely even heard of any of them. But that's what the player of today gets. They don't have to rely on LUTI for those kinds of tournaments anymore, or to find teams at their skill level anymore. They can find ways to get that elsewhere. So what is the main appeal? What has the community incorrectly twisted LUTI into being? We all know the answer to this. Let's say it together. To get a div. But I'm getting the sense that having a div doesn't even hold that much value in the community anymore. I see the only people who actually talk about divs anymore are teams that are eligible for low ink or teams that are trying to get banned from low ink or think that they're banned from low ink. That's it. You don't see anybody else outside of that category talk about divs at all. I don't know when the last time I heard somebody who is actually Div 3, not pretend Div 3, but actual legit, you have been in Div 3 before, talk about or brag about the fact that they're Div 3. It's almost the uncool thing to do at that stage, right? Like Div 4, you can be like, yes, I'm banned from low ink and all the other skill cap tournaments because I'm Div 4. And then you get to Div 3 and it's like, why are you not in the plus servers right now? Like, why are you not one of the top, one of the top categories of send out queue? Like that, it seems to be what players more so care about when they get out of low ink. Because why else would you care? Like Div 3, and I'm not sitting here trying to bash people that are Div 3. I'm just saying the value of being able to claim that you're Div 3 has plummeted due to the rise of other better ways to kind of rank yourselves, especially when you get up to the level where it is a little bit higher. And again, divs are just for teams, right? Like your team gets a div, But you as an individual person can get voted into a plus server, can get ranked into a certain spot in send out queue. That's where more of the appeal seems to have shifted from. So you will get a lot of low ink and low ink eligible players that will sign up for LUTI. But I'm getting the sense just initially that the upper echelon teams, especially like the god level kind of teams, the plus ones, are not really coming out and signing up for this event. I could be completely wrong, and we might see like a huge influx of people signing up in the upper levels into LUTI this past week. But just by what I'm seeing on like just conversations on Twitter, and just the way the scene has shifted now that Sindow's presence has been more encompassing of the entire scene, I just don't really get the sense that we're going to see this LUTI season as we've seen other LUTI seasons in the past. Which is fine. Like, it shouldn't have never been about the divs anyways. And yes, low ink having LUTI Div 5 as the skill cap is part of the issue. People forget, though, there's like 6 other factors that we use that are in the rules. Being LUTI Div 5 is just one of the many things that we check that could make you eligible or ineligible for low ink. But still, I will admit, it is the fact that skill cap tournaments use LUTI divs as like the flagship standard has been part of the problem as to why LUTI divs are more important than actually playing in the tournament itself. So let's take a look at Speed Ladder, the tournament that took place last Saturday during low ink that had a little bit of a dip as far as registration was concerned the last time that it happened. Now, I, being a low ink representative, am not at all salty that Speed Ladder took place at the same time as low ink. I have said this many times. I'll say it here again. You cannot steal teams from any tournament. No team is required to play in one tournament over the other. This is a free capitalism market that we're playing here in competitive Splatoon, and teams can decide for themselves which tournaments that they want to play in. Yes, we did see a lot of the alpha bracket regulars skip low ink this month and go play in Speed Ladder. They are lucky to have that option to do so. There's no, now I think it wasn't the brightest idea of LUTI to just do that because it hurt their Speed Ladder registration numbers more than anything. The last Speed Ladder that took place had 330 teams. The amount of teams that got a standing in this Speed Ladder is almost half that at 167. So running at the same time with low ink, and I don't know if they just like, well, we have to run this because we want to get it done in time, or if it was just I don't think low ink players actually play in Speed Ladder. If that was the case, like, LUTI staff is a little bit behind the times as far as like understanding what like who their target market is at this point. The vast majority of LUTI players, just by looking at divs and the number of teams that are in them, are low ink eligible. Like, that is their target market, or at least should be their target market. And what does low level love more than anything? They love some Speed Ladder. They love a ladder format. Now, a ladder format that leads into a top cut, no, because that's horrible. But Speed Ladder's perfect because there is no top cut. It's just play as many matches as you can, and then you're done. And then you get results. So Speed Ladder played through, and we're going to take a look. Now, again, it doesn't really matter. Like you don't get bonus points for playing in one tournament over the other. So if you were to come up with the idea that because I played in Speed Ladder, I'm going to get a better div than what I did in LUTI. That's not true. But what Speed Ladder does give you over low ink is an opportunity to beat the teams that can help jump you up. If you do consistently good in low ink, you're probably going to get the same div as some of these other teams that didn't play in low ink. But if you wanted to really show, not that you should be better than low ink skill cap, but you should be like above all those other things. Like, you should leave no doubt if it comes down between you and one other team between this div and that div playing in speed ladder is the ideal way to go because you're going to get more of those low ink banned teams that you're going to be going up against, and you're going to get a better opportunity to prove yourself, which several low ink eligible teams did, and they did pop off and did prove themselves. So what teams, just from initially looking at this, crossed my mind as, oh, these teams popped off in the speed ladder tournament? And don't take this. Yes, I am on the seeding council again this year. I believe for the 5th season in a row. Don't take this as me, if I just like say this team that like, oh, well then Popgun's going to immediately put them high up. And no, like I'm just immediately glancing at this. I'll look back at this next week at a much deeper level, much more fine combed to try to like get a better understanding of things. But just from where I was yesterday, perspective wise, like snapshot perspective of where some of these teams are, which a lot of LUTI seeding is just snapshot perception of certain teams. These are some of the teams that had my perception changed just initially off of what I saw. Can I get the right screen up here? First off, I just want to say for these 3 teams at the very top, Fratella, Osmosis, Black Lotus. And this is going to sound like a shot at Cherry Bomb, but I just haven't looked into Cherry Bomb personally, so I don't really know what to say about them yet. But these 3 teams, they didn't have to play in Speed Ladder. Like, the div that they are going to get has been locked in the moment that they signed up for it. Like that, and that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I could be wrong. Maybe like a Starburst and FT Win and Jackpot, even though extremely unlikely, might sign up the last minute, and then we got to push everybody down. But if you just look at who's been signing up so far, which I don't know if that's been public yet or not, and you just see these 3 teams, do you think they're going to be staying up on Saturday night, being like, oh no, what div did we get? Where did they put us? Like it should be a no-brainer. The only thing they could do is play themselves out of the div that they're likely going to get, which they didn't here. They took care of business. Now, like I'm not sitting here like, don't play in this tournament, idiots. What are you doing? No, but like for Osmosis, I haven't seen them play in anything, and that doesn't mean they haven't been playing in stuff. But like just me personally, as someone who's on the seeding council, I haven't seen them do anything, but I know how good their players are in general. So this could just be like this is an opportunity for us to get some results as a team. But like just being blunt from where I'm coming from, I already knew where div these guys were going to be in, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. For the rest of these teams, you can't trust the standings on the speed ladder. You have to actually look, and there's a way to make this bigger view all. Yes, there we go. You can't just look at the number to the left and be like, oh, well, WD-40 is the 6th best team in this tournament. No, they weren't. That's not how tiebreakers work. As you see, they won 5 games, but you got teams ranked below them that won 7 and 8 games, like way more games than them. It's just because their personal win percentage is higher that they're ranked higher than this right here. So you can't just look at standings and think, oh, well, here's Div X right here, and then scroll down and here's all of Div 1. No, it doesn't even come close to working like that. That's why I always say standings, placements don't matter. It just comes down to your results, your actual results. Who did you beat is what's important. Regardless of that, though, WD-40 did raise their stock for me in this instance based off the teams that they played here and beat in the 6 matches that they actually played. I saw WD-40 win low ink last month, and then I saw them somehow get down into Lantern bracket of an SOS and had to win that. And I don't know if like they had to like DC or they just like whatever, like found their way down the Lantern bracket. But as far as like perception goes, that's like, what's up with that? That's kind of weird. That's what WD-40 benefited from playing in Speed Ladder, just because of the wins that they were able to get in something like this. It just justified the low ink win that they had before. Project Rat didn't really like it would have taken a lot for Project Rat to like impress anybody because they're already good enough to where like this is just like justified where they were. with something like that. A team that really did stand out to me was Overtime. Yes, they're banned from low ink, but they did go 7-2 here, and they got some pretty solid wins. And they only lost to strong teams. Fraudtella, aka Fruitella, basically, is one of their 2 losses. All the other 7 ones that they got is really strong. So credit to them. They needed some solid results here, and they got it. And there, this is where you get the teams that could have played in low ink this past month or yesterday, but didn't in favor of playing in speed ladder. I'll be dead ass with you guys. They all did really good. It doesn't pain me at all to say that a lot of these teams made the right call to skip low ink and play in the speed ladder here, because a lot of them did really good and popped off. Strawberry Soda being one of them. They were my number 3 team in my top 10. They skipped low ink in favor of playing the speed ladder, and they did not disappoint. They made the most of this opportunity that they gave themselves, going 7-2. Again, one of their losses being to the team that won the whole, technically went undefeated in this thing. So good job for Strawberry Soda. Loxier, I would have. They never signed up, so we never verified them. But another one of those like potentially eligible low ink teams that did a very good job in this tournament as well. Smoke and Mo Eyes, they won a low ink a little bit while ago, but we haven't seen them playing stuff in a little bit. Wavebreaker, another one of those teams. I can't remember if they're low ink eligible or not, just off of initially looking at their things. But you look at the actual result, and I'm not going to like pull up and look like you guys can, if you guys are curious enough who they actually beat, you can do this themselves. But Wavebreaker is one of those teams that stood out to me. As we wait forever for this to load. Exploding Squeegee said that they are disbanding on Twitter after this. Again, another team that was like, we're not even going to wait to get our div. We're just going to disband. So like a dead team walking here, but still doing a good job, going 5-3 in this tournament. Let's see. Where are the other teams I want to talk about? Just Squidding. This is a perfect example of don't trust placement. Because you look at Just Squidding and you see, oh, they got 5 losses and 4 wins. So they lost more games than they actually played. That means they're probably like Div 7 or something like that. No, Just Squidding, if you were to pull this up, all 5 of their losses are legit losses. Like those are teams that anybody in low ink would be lucky to take a game off of. And the 4 wins that they got, one of the wins was against the OBT Bronze Alley pickup, which is a solid win for them. So like this 4 and 5 team did more to improve themselves than if they had played in low ink. Now, like they might get the same div anyways, because if they played in low ink, they would have had like an opportunity to win it. But still, you can't just trust the 4-5. You can't just trust placements on this. They're a perfect example of that. Well, there's the OBT team right there as well. Is that Lily from Cherry Limeade? It'd have to be. Is there any other team? I wanted to talk about Elegant Diamond. They're still in that mix of low ink eligible teams that were like top 10 eligible. They popped off in this tournament as well. Free Flow isn't a low ink eligible team, obviously, but I saw them play at Low Tide City. They did pretty decent there. I believe they made top 16 through the losers side of things. And again, you're not going to see Free Flow because they're a little bit lower down this list. But you look at who they actually played, and their solid wins that they got right there. I think it just kind of justified that even though we haven't seen Free Flow in a while, they're just as good as what they were. Arts and Crafts is another team. There they are. Arts and Crafts, 5-3. This team probably improved their stock the most. I want to say the last time I saw Arts and Crafts was in Little Squid League. I know they played in low ink back in December where they went 3-3, and I think they played in the January afterwards, but I forget how good they actually did. But Arts and Crafts played really solid and got some awesome wins. What's funny is that Arts and Crafts did play against a team called Art Supplies in this tournament, and they did lose to Art Supplies. So that's another kind of like tricky thing that will get you up. All of these two teams have very similar names, but Arts and Crafts did a lot to improve their stock with me personally as far as what I saw right there. And that's it. I'll be serious. That's the main things that kind of jumped out to me. The rest of these things, like, you have to really dig deep and be like Bucktooth Smile. That name alone does absolutely nothing. But then you look at the roster and you start to think like, oh, I'm sorry, I remember some of these players. That makes sense. Like, you have to do some digging into these things. But as far as like initially, those were the teams that jumped out to me, and the rest will be looked into a little bit later. But nicely done to them. I wanted to come out here and highlight the low ink eligible teams because they all did really good in this one. And I didn't want to be like, oh, you should have played in low ink instead. No, they took this opportunity to flex, and they did. Maybe that says more about low ink than anything. I don't know. What do I know? We'll recap LUTI next week. Make sure you sign up for LUTI. It's a good way to continue your own kind of momentum right there with these kind of tournaments. And I'm happy LUTI's back. I know I just kind of went on a rant talking about how it's kind of weird. That I feel like the perspective of LUTI is different. But for low level, they love LUTI. And they love playing in LUTI stuff. They're going to fill that sucker up. Div 3 might be low ink eligible next season, depending on who signs up here. Immel said, I thought I paid Popgun enough to only spread LUTI propaganda. Why am I hearing a balanced view? Because you didn't pay me enough. That's why. Do some more chatter there. Toasty posted the signups that are public. Okay, so they are currently public right there. There's no way they're getting. If they get 400 teams, I'll shave my beard. How about that? There's no way they're getting that many, right? There's no way. So what other tournaments took place this last week that everyone could see? That everyone could watch? That could help your seeding? Let's talk about it. It's time for the weekly recap. Paddling pool number 267 was won by Comp Diff. Monco finished in second place, and Booyah Back rounds out your top three. Punchy is one of the members of the team that won this tournament. I looked at Punchy because I forgot they were a player that won low ink. They have won 5 paddling pools and 6 Triton Cups. Punchy needs to be like Dapple Productions band for winning all of those events. Let somebody else win. Let somebody else have fun. Nicely done there, though. SOS number 148 was won by Yummy. Stands as a Bop finished in second place, and 37 Boys and Sarah and Jusha finished in third place. I guess they're no longer sexy boys and they're just straight up regular boys, which is fine. Like, everybody is beautiful in their own way. Hammerhead bracket was won by Camp Triggerfish Zone Supremacy. That's not a thing, but whatever. Mako bracket was won by Luminous, and Lantern bracket was won by Caution. Triton Cup number 78 won by Frutella. Duck finished in second place, and Dat W finished in bronze. I thought Frutella disbanded. Am I wrong about that? Did I see that incorrectly? And it's just another one of those things where, like, teams disband, but they don't really disband, which is fine. I liked Frutella or Fratella, whoever they are. They're going to get a good div. Maybe. I mean, they've only won, like, 11 of these Dapple production tournaments, so what could that mean? Like, anybody can win those tournaments, right? Unless they can. Squid Junction number 68 took place on Saturday night. Flop Nation Team 2 finished in first place. O_0 finished in second, and Stargaze finished in third place. When I saw Stargaze finished in third, I was like, what is Yeet? I haven't seen Yeet back in a while, and who's Yeet even playing with? I think Jollybird is now on Persistence. But no, it's not that Stargaze. This is apparently a brand new Stargaze. And look, there's been so many teams now that you're going to see, like, team names start to repeat. at this point. I found an octopi before the octopi There was an octopi that played in a Nintendo tournament with the same exact like octo and like the symbol pi after their name afterwards as well. So like, now none of you are allowed to call yourselves Destiny Troops. That was copyrighted. I will come after you. Nobody. That is the best team name ever. None of you are allowed to take it. CCA, the Collegiate Cephalopod Association, wrapped up their season this past week, and I commentated Div 1. Speaking of Div 1s, it was a fantastic finish right there. UCSD Esports beat Illinois State 5-3. UCSD taking their first Div 1 championship, and as I believe Woomy is graduating now. Third place went to Central Florida over Penn State, 5-4. Div 2, New Jersey Institute of Technology, the Splatlanders beat Purdue 5-2. Div 3, Cal State Long Beach beat California Berkeley in a state rivalry 5-4. Div 4, Rochester Polytech Institute, the Grisco Junior Busters beat the Gators of Florida 5-2. Div 5, Maryland beat California State 5-3. And Div 6, Auburn beat Ohio State 5-1 in what would be a college football national championship. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by chairs that are at the venue. Look, I have no problem with people showing emotion. I don't think we need to be robots about everything. We don't need everybody to be like Spock from the original Star Trek, the Vulcans, I believe, where it's just like emotion is not a thing. However, if you're at a venue and you want to pop off and you want to celebrate, don't throw things, period. And if you are going to throw something, don't throw something that's not yours. My issue with the whole H-Box situation is not that he displayed some emotion. It's the fact that he took one of the venue chairs and broke it. And I know they're like promoting it as like, because they have to, like they can't just tweet out a thing going after H-Box or anything like that. They go, oh, well, let's take advantage of this. But like, if you're at a Splatoon event, never take up that chair and like throw it down. The chair provided by the venue, throw it down on the stage, potentially damaging the stage provided by the production company or whoever they rent the equipment from. Like, just don't do that. Is my thing. If you're gonna throw something, throw like something that you own or you bought. Like, break your own stuff, not other people's things. That's my only take on that, and I wanted to at least mention it. So the official sponsor of today's weekly recap, Venue Chairs. You gotta love them. My apologies to the YouTube audience. If you're just now scrolling down to it, you missed the weekly recap because I forgot to move the arrow. But who watches this just for the weekly recap anyways? Leave a comment or something. I don't know. I didn't see your message, Toasty, even though you highlighted it, but I see it now. Fair enough. I know I've seen HBox respond to it, but I don't want to get too deep into the HBox thing. I just wanted to mention for like Splatoon functions, don't do that. Nobody's even come close to doing that. I did see somebody in the audience like picking up their chair and like holding it in the air. It's just like a way to like cheer on people. Like even that made me kind of think like, that's not your chair. I wouldn't pick that up or like stand on it or anything like that. Just something to go. Just something that I wanted to mention. Low week happened, I think. Same format as last month. We had 101 registered, but I think like 90 something actually played, like didn't drop or failed to check in or whatever like that. The smallest link we've had, I want to say since September of 22, like when the first month when Splatoon 3 launched. I feel like this is the first or like the smallest link. Now it's still 90 teams is like a lot. That's still a lot in the grand scheme of things. But I would like to see that number jump back up in June. I'd like for us to get like a big, fat, healthy low ink in the month of June. Last year in June, it was the biggest low ink that we had. It was the biggest low ink we've ever had. I think just because of the beginning of summer, hype around the game. So I'm kind of hoping summer starting next month. All the kiddies out of school, all the people at work kind of checking out. New season coming out with weapons that seem to be really good. That range blaster, man, that range blaster is going to be a lot of fun if it's getting the kit that it looks like it's going to get in. For all of you, yeah, like custom Hydra is going to have what screen? Like, I'm excited for that because I know screen's good competitively. I'm gonna feel weird if I used it in solo queue though, because you don't really know who's like you don't really know how it's affecting the other people in solo queue. But custom Hydra and competitive, I'm actually kind of excited about that. If you're not fighting the pencil or all the Zukas or anything. Regardless, though, this is the tournament that we had this past month, and we have some winners that we need to discuss. So we're going to do just that. Winners from the Swiss stage. Shoutouts to Insomniac Central, who went 4-2 during the Swiss stage, getting key wins over Malibu Rising, Royal Bouquet, which is the first time I said that correctly, Lullaby number 2, and Chaos Inc. Insomniac Central is a weird mix of players that went 5-1 in the previous low ink and 1-5 as well. So that kind of those two records blend together, and what you get a 4-2 team that ended up in beta bracket, I believe. Congrats to them. Non-binary fuzz. I didn't know there was such a thing as binary fuzz, but here we are. They went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over the Moonstars, Black Banana Rollers, Nightmare, that is like a medieval thing, and Lullaby number 2. It's been a while since we've seen non-binary fuzz play in a low ink. I believe the last time we saw them play was either December or November of last year. So good to have them back, and they picked up right where they left off, going 4-2 in this tournament. If he doesn't mention binary fuzz, did you? Okay, what was the timing on that? Did I say that before you put that highline message out, or did I say it I swear I had it written down. I didn't just say it because you mentioned it, Tux. It's just a coincidence. Splatland's Most Wanted went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over the Moonstars, Shadows Ancients, Go to Shell, no you, and Ink Bait. Not bad for this newerish team. In Splatman's Most Wanted, I mean, they are the most wanted team in this tournament, and they still found a way to win 4 out of their 6 games, so nicely done to them. Come back next month, Most Wanted. Let's see what you do then. Chaos Inc. went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over Shadow Ancients, Non-Binary Fuss. I mentioned them again, Tux. Pink Zinc, and Comical Klutz. Last month they played as Chaos Pickup, but the last time they played as Chaos Inc., they went in Gamma Bracket this time around, doing good enough to slip their way into a competitive beta bracket. Nicely done to them. Stardust Inc. Satyrs. I remember mentioning them a little bit last month because they finished 3rd place in beta. This time around they got 5-1 in their Swiss group and qualified for Alpha. They got key wins against Vermilion, Starfish, Rewind, Celestial, and Hyperzone. So they flex this month. Nice progress. Do a good job in beta bracket and let it translate into success the next month. I see you, Stardust Inc. Satyrs. Hyperzone went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over Caution, Joa, Krill Streak, and Tiger Titans. The only reason they beat Krill Streak is because they're still probably a little hungover from LTC. But that's totally fine. You won't beat them next time, Hyperzone. They'll get you then. But for right now, for the first time that these players are playing in low ink, and I believe they played in other skill cap tournaments before this as well, but first time playing in low ink, going 4-2. Highway to the Hyperzone. Starfish went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over Origami Dragons. I almost call them Origami Dragoons. Vermilion, Kit Kat, and Pastel Cartel. Where's the people in chat being like, oh, he better mention Starfish when he talks about the winners? Well, whoever was lurking and was going to type that out, I did. The last time I saw them play was Little Squiddly number 38, where they finished in the top 5. They avoided this other team that is in their group called Starfishers. Now, I believe Starfish has beaten Starfishers before, which makes no sense. The other team is fishing for the other one, but they dodged them this time around, didn't have to play them, went 4-2 across the board. The Hardcore Noobs went 3-3 in this tournament, getting key wins over the Sealies, Ocean Harmony, and 5-4 Encore. The Hardcore Noobs are an old team, both old in the sense that they've been around longer than most of you have been in the competitive scene in chat, and also because the Hardcore Noobs are just literally old because they played in 9's 30-year-old plus tournament. The Hardcore Noobs used to play in Low Inc back when it was a single-day event. In fact, they were one of the more vocal teams against us switching from a one-day to a two-day event, and rightfully so. You know, that was quite a jump. Hardcore Noobs being one of the most the vocal teams against it, and it's completely understandable. But they seem to have come back this time around, went 3-3. Would like to see more of them. Big fan of the Hardcore Noobs, or anybody that's in their Twilight Splatoon years. Celestial went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over Caution, Blake Spruter, Ocean Harmony, and OK Woomer. This is a team that's got limited experience in tournaments. However, the last time they did play in Low Inc, they went 4-2 in February. Don't take a 3-month gap before you see you again, Celestial. Come back and play again next month. However, all of these teams fail in comparison to the biggest winner of the week, of the month, maybe of the entire year. How about in the month of May, the biggest winner goes to October Rift, who went 6-0 during the Swiss stage, getting key wins over Splatman's Most Wanted, Magic Beans, Cherry Bomb. No, not the Cherry Bomb that finished 4th place in Speed Ladder. Same name, completely different team. Insomniac Central, Comical Klutz, and the Howdy Hat Pirates. October Rift proved their second place in the Fire Pit bracket at Low Tide City to UCSD, who just won Div 1 of the CCA, was not a fluke. They have turned the corner. They are now the legit team. No more 4-2, or I think they actually went like 2-4 one month. Nah, October Rift is the real deal. 5 months away from winning this Low Inc. And they're on pace to do just that. Maybe a little bit ahead of schedule, honestly, if they're going 6-0. Nicely done to you, October Rift. Did someone just call me a sexy boy and highlight it? Hi. Oh, sexy boy here. They're calling themselves a sexy boy. Okay, cool. That's fine, I guess. Sexy boy here. We removed sexy because Sully's mom got mad. So we're the beautiful boys now. Fair enough. Hey, can't argue with mom. That's I laugh because I've played with teenagers and Destiny troops before, and I've had to like cancel scrims because somebody got grounded or something like that. So it's you sometimes forget, like, oh wait, there are actual teenagers here that have to answer to a higher calling, and rightfully so. Listen to your parents. Gamma bracket, beta, alpha, we'll call it a day. I'm happy about this gamma bracket. First off, let's give a shout out to X Name, the team that finished in 3rd place, making this long run through losers bracket, beating the hardcore noobs along the way and surviving a couple of game threes in these best of threes, not getting honor bound beaten into game 5. But X Name deserves a shout out because they went 2-4 last month. This time around, they are in Gamma Bracket, getting the bronze medal in Gamma Bracket. Nice little glow up for them. We like to recognize that. The Freeps FR. For real. Freeps for real, I'm assuming. Almost beat the team that won this whole one in a game 5 after beating Pastel Cartel, and then got a couple of wins along the loser side thing as well after getting knocked out right there. X-Name knocking them out before they got rid of Comical Klutz, VQ, Vector Cry, and the Magic Beams. So Freeps for real is a college pickup. I'm assuming grinding before they had to play in the finals beforehand. So I want to give them a shout out here because they did really good finishing in 4th place. Don't jump the gun. We're not seasick fans. Relax. We'll get to you. We got to talk about other people first. Namely, the Comical Klutz. I see them getting a sweep over Magical Beans before, who is this? Crustacean Corruption sweeping them out. But they did make a little bit of a run in the loser side of things. Unless they didn't. What am I looking at here? No, they swept. They swept this team before Honor Bound knocked them out. Okay, so I got that a little bit backwards. But Comical Klutz, they got Gamma Bracket back in February where they finished in 7th place. This time around getting 5th place. Now, a little bit different because that was a Gamma Bracket where there was like an Epsilon bracket as well. So you can't like compare, oh, they're 7th that time, 5th this time around. But what we'd like to see is consistency on Sunday. That is the most important thing because some teams are Saturday teams, some teams are Sunday teams, and it's like the Sunday teams can't get into a good bracket because they're not doing a good job on Saturday. You like to see consistency on Sundays. Comical Klutz was able to do that even though they haven't played in 3 months. For the teams that finished in 1st and 2nd, first off, Honor Bound. Couldn't close this one out in the game 5. In fact, it looks like a epic rivalry they got a little bit here with Seasick. They played 14 times, and Honor Bound of those 14 was able to win 7 of them. Right? Yeah, so they're split dead even 7-7. So this is a tie. They both won Gamma Bracket, as far as I'm concerned. But Honor Bound, I got to talk to them for a little bit at Low Tide City, and they were super chill. It's cool to see them. I did watch them play against Pixel Heart's team, and I believe they beat them at Low Tide City. So it was cool to see them. They said that they promised me that they were going to win Low Inc by the end of the year. They promised me. They swore to me it was going to happen. They came close to winning Gamma Bracket, which is kind of the same thing. But Seasick here, I feel so. I'm a Seasick fan. I am happy about Seasick. I used Seasick as an example once as why ladder is such a dumb format to create a top cut. Because there was a Nintendo tournament where Seasick was one of the top 16 teams like they made top 16, and then a DivX team didn't because they were right below them. And I was like, this is why ladder sucks, because Seasick was like a 1-5, 2-4 team. Well, they're not that team anymore. I love teams that start at the bottom and start to grind their way towards the top. Seasick is on the projection. You love to see teams like this. These are my favorite kind of low ink teams. I'm happy they won Gamma Bracket. I'm going to be happy when they win Beta Bracket, and I'll be sad when we have to ban them before they actually win Alpha Bracket. But they're on that trajectory. Nicely done, Seasick. Blech. Excuse me. Let's take a look at Beta Bracket. The bracket Seasick's going to win next month. First off, make it a little bit bigger there. There we go. For Fatal Trizuka is the first team that we're going to be taking a look at right here. They got eliminated by Go to Shell. That is a rough way to start off your morning. Lose to a team that is just condemning you to a lifetime of eternal pain right there. But then Fatal Zuka went on a decent little losers run here, winning a couple of game 3s. Splatland's Most Wanted, Be Kind, Please Rewind, beat them, and then before Celestial knocked them out before they can win a 3rd straight game 3 in losers bracket. I want to give a shout out to Fatal Trizuka because they seem to be mostly newer-ish players coming into this tournament. I believe it was like one tournament player that had comp experience, bringing in some players that don't really have a lot underneath their belt. Well, now they got their feet wet in a beta bracket and getting some pretty decent results here right there. So I wanted to give a shout out to them. Caution with 2 exclamation points. So they're not messing around. You need to be cautious with these guys. They lost in round 1 to Rewind, got swept out, but then made the most of it, winning 4 straight loser bracket games. And loser bracket runs are stressful, but they're a lot of fun. It's just like constantly hype, especially when you're playing in a bunch of game 3s, which they did against Inkception and Bracket Reset, who didn't make it to a bracket reset scenario. Unfortunate for them. Go to Shell, getting them knocked out in eventually in a game 3. So Caution gets 4th place. Nicely done when their losers run, though. Speaking of Go to Shell, they finished in 3rd place here in beta bracket, doing a pretty decent job getting a couple of sweeps on the winner's side before ducking down here to get a couple of wins on the loser's side. Name not found, ultimately knocking them out. But Go to Shell, the last time they played in Low, they got 5th in Gamma bracket. This time around, 3rd in beta. That was in January that they last played. So it's been a while since we saw them taking care of business here, getting bronze in beta. Nicely done for that. The 2 teams that finished in the final here, Name Not Found forcing a bracket reset and then running out of steam to the team that they played earlier in the winner side of things. This is a pickup. The most notable player, at least that jumped out to me initially, was Zach, who's from Forgotten, who I also think disbanded. So don't know if this is like a project or something like that. I'm calling it a pickup because of the name that they got right here. Still good job getting 2nd place in beta bracket. But pats on the back all around to the team that won the winner side and grand finals after a bracket reset is Ultra Krill. And other than Name Not Found, they weren't really tested there along the way. Non-binary fuss, much to the dismay of Tux, wasn't much of a challenge for them in those 2 games. Inkception got swept by them. Go to Shell, no you. And Name Not Found giving them all they could handle over the course of these couple of games right here. Ultra Krill finished 2nd place in Gamma bracket last month. Is that true? Did I actually? Let's look that up real quick. Let's double check the pop gun math here. But Ultra Krill, all in capital letters. Is this? Oh, did I like open in a new tab? But I still have everything closed down. Last minute research, Gamma brackets. Would you look at that? Inkception. So they got a rematch against Inkception, and it looks like they beat them up in the month later. Nicely done to them. I didn't even catch that until just now. Did they? Oh, this is... We'll go back to that. Ultra Krill, nicely done to them. Winning beta bracket in a format that is a double elim instead of a top 32 single elim is traditionally really strong. It usually means good things going forward, so we'll definitely see them in alpha bracket next month. That is 100% what that means. Alpha bracket of the May Low Inc. We'll look at this and then we'll call it a day. First off, there's a fact. It's been a while since we've had these, and I failed to mention this last time, but one of the many historical things, other than the number 1 seed getting destroyed by the number 16 seed, that is nothing new. That is the old school way Low Inc used to always work. Sorry, October Rift. Really good on Saturday. Ran into some tough competition on Sunday. We'll see them back next month, though. But one of the other statistics I failed to talk about was this semifinal matches. It used to be that if you lost a semifinal match, that you would lose immediately in losers round 4. And you saw this a lot. I broke down the statistics at one point. Teams that were the higher seed in the losers round 4 were losing 60% of the time to teams that were in losers bracket before. And I called the culprit of it the sadness that you lost here versus a team that is at worst on a 2-game winning streak going into play. So like these clashing dynamics, like Zestfest and Blake Spruter historically would get bodied in this matchup, and you'd just see like either 789 or Black Squid Inkburger just be like the team that would roll their way into grand finals. So I just wanted to point that out because that didn't happen here at all. Zestfest and Blake Spruter took care of business and will ultimately be able to play each other into a game 3 on stream because of it. So I just wanted to point that out. That used to be a trend back in the day, but those two avoided the trap. So nicely done to them. I would reckon that like the winner, like that these like a Zestfest and Blake Spruter, like teams in their situations of losing and then immediately winning, I would say there's like a very small, like maybe 10% chance of the time that these two teams like actually faced off in a situation of like losers round 5, because it was just so difficult for teams in the past in that spot. I lost my pen, but I don't even know if I need it right now. Talked about October Rift. Black Squid Inkburger. Mentioned them a little bit here. They had the losers bracket run after beating, who did they beat? Well, they beat October Rift, and then they got swept out by Clairvoyance. Starfish eliminated them. The Howdy Hat Pirates, they're always in alpha bracket. You can't take that away from them. The Saturday team still looking to get strong on Sunday. Beat them 2-1 before Blake Sprutum knocked them out. For Black Squid Inkburger being the number 16 seed, again, that really doesn't matter. Just qualify for alpha bracket and you'll be fine. They went 2-4 in April. What happened there? Because they've been in alpha bracket before. I believe in January they were in alpha bracket. So that means they got out of top 32 into alpha bracket in January. And then last month they went 2-4. It's was one of those tournaments. They just got low inked. Just one of those tournaments where you just like, let's just forget this happened. Like, we don't need to VOD review this. We don't need to look at replay codes. Let's just crumble it up, throw it out the window, and just move on to the next time. They took care of business here. Nicely done, Black Squid Inkburger. Blake Spruter, another team that like finished top 3, I think, in a low ink a couple of months ago, and then like made a pickup that didn't live up to the hype, and then played last month and didn't live up to the hype. This is a return to form for them. Getting 4th place in this tournament, a stacked alpha bracket, which they're always stacked. What am I talking about? Good for Blake Spruter to get back into this one. Now, I'm going to look this up because I'm actually kind of furious about this because I heard Brush mention this before, and I want to make sure that this is correct before I say anything. Because I have a beef with teams that are named after cephalopods, right? Because like if you sign up for LUTI and you have cephalopod somewhere in your name, you're automatically getting Div 7 or worse. And that's not like me hating that word. It's just that is where all the cephalopod teams are. You never see a team banned from Loic that has cephalopod in their name. Well, I think I just confirmed it. I believe Blake Spruter literally translates to like cuttlefish or cephalopod. So even this team thinks they're being sneaky by not calling themselves cephalopod straight up. They're still doing it in a sneaky way. So I think less of them. And I'm not afraid to admit that publicly now that I know what Blake Spruter actually means. I wish Brush had never pointed that out. Clairvoyance, the team that finished in 3rd place, did really strong, beating Cherry Bomb, Black Squid Inkburger, sweeping them all, taking care of Zestfest on stream. And then Lush said, like, no, we're winning this tournament. Can you get out of our way, please? So they did. And Zestfest able to get revenge on them 3-1 in losers finals. So what do we know about Clairvoyance? They got Gamma Bracket back in March. They went 5-1 last month as well, but got eliminated in losers round 1. So this is a much better glow up for them this time around, finishing not here, but all the way down here and getting bronze medal in this tournament. Clairvoyance, we're talking about teams that like improved their stock that played in Speed Ladder. Clairvoyance massively improved their stock by what they did in this low ink, following up with back-to-back trips in alpha bracket, but improving over the last month. They just bought themselves a nice new div right there by doing that. Brand new shiny div. But if they played in Speed Ladder, I'm sure they would have like gotten enough kind of credible results to be like, oh, nice. Because a bunch of other teams did do just that. Speaking of which, because a lot of the heavy hitters left low ink so that they could play in Speed Ladder, that shouldn't diminish what we saw here in this grand finals. Yes, Lush ran through all these teams. But they played strong teams anyways. Like, would you have loved to see them play like Elegant Diamond or Loxier or like Strawberry Soda? Like, yes. But it's not like the teams they played against are the little sisters of the poor. These are other strong teams that were in my personal top 10, aside from Clairvoyance, who I missed on. But Solo Q looked like the de facto, they're just going to curb stop this tournament. Lush swept them. Blake Spruder has made podium before. Lush swept them. Clairvoyance looked like to be the team after beating Zestfest, to be the team that was on the rise. Like, they were looking really strong today. Lush swept them. Lush played teams that would have been in low ink regardless of who else played in this. Like, they played the top. They didn't dodge anybody. They literally played the strongest teams that were here and potentially would have been there had the other teams been here anyways. Like, this could have been the same exact path, and they curb stomped everybody. It got to Zestfest. Zestfest was able to finally take a game off them, avoid being swept in grand finals here, but then Lush was just turned on the Jets and said, no, we're winning this tournament. So hats off to Lush, who went 5-1 yesterday. I forget what team beat them. I think it was Solo Q that beat them on Saturday. Sheer Cold took him to a game 5 or game 3 in Swiss. Somebody else took him to a game 3 in Swiss. But they got revenge on the one team, I believe, that did beat them, swept them out, and just took advantage of the fact, hey, let's just make alpha bracket. It doesn't have to be pretty. We could be the 7 seed, and then we'll just like become a different animal right here. Win low ink straight up outright, and it's a very impressive run for them. I forget where they were last time, but I did have them in my top 10. I think I had them in like my top 5. I don't think much higher than that. Zestfest was my number 1 team, and Zestfest, I'm not like, I haven't like sat down and looked at any of these teams for like LUTI divs or anything like that, but I would be surprised and if Zestfest plays in low ink again, like that. And even if they're not banned, like, why would they? Like, they have nothing else to prove. They finished second place twice. They did fourth or third place the month prior, last month. Like, Zestfest has consistently proved that they are that kind of team. There's nothing left for them to prove. There's nothing left for them to do in low ink other than win it. But like, that's a pipe dream. Like, winning low ink is, they've had 2 opportunities to do it and they couldn't get the job done. But that doesn't mean they're anything less than what they are. They are extremely consistent, and they don't need to be playing in low ink anymore. I'm not sitting here breaking news that they're banned or anything like that. I'm just saying there's no reason left for them here. They're ready to graduate. They have nothing left to prove. Lush is also banned because they actually won the tournament, so they are banned for the rules and they can never come back. So nicely done to them. And yes, even if they were to play in Speed Ladder, there'd be nothing that would suggest to me that they would do worse than what all the other low ink teams did, and maybe even better because they did a fantastic job here. Nobody was beating them on Sunday, and I don't go what happened to them on Sunday, how they turned that corner, but we rarely see dominance of this level, especially from a 5-1 team. Just come out of nowhere. But credit to them for winning this tournament. And who knows? Maybe they're not even playing in LUTI. I'm just assuming all these teams are signed up for LUTI. There might be teams that are just like, what's that? I'm not interested. Who knows? Who cares? We'll still be talking about it next week. We'll talk about Flutie, so make sure you play in Flutie. Make sure you sign up for Proving Grounds as well. Play in both tournaments. Like, if you are who you say you are, you got an opportunity to prove it this weekend. Prove your ground, or maybe we'll rename it to Prove Your Dip. But if you'd like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, feel free to reach out my socials below. Twitter, Mr._Popgun. Discord at Popgun. YouTube 25 Popgun. Twitch at Popgun25. Anchor.fm/Popgun. Let's go to good old Shadowwind. With only 1 W. Did I miss a... I don't think I missed the highlighted message. Yes, the last thing was about a sexy boys or something like that. Cool. We'll see you next month. Get vaccinated if you haven't already. And or next week, I guess you say. Play in tournaments. Do not be afraid to play in tournaments. That's why you're here, right?